I do a thing with people sometimes, and I get particularly corporates coming to, some of my seminars, and they're all full of questions and this, that, and the other. And I said, well, just take it, I said, just close your eyes and stop breathing. And they go, what do you mean? I said, just stop breathing for a second, okay, and just don't breathe, and just don't breathe, and don't breathe. And then you start seeing them going, they start going red and they go purple. I said, okay, take a breath. And they go, I said, just keep your eyes closed. Isn't that good? Did that feel good to you? Doesn't that feel wonderful? Isn't that incredible? I mean, is there any money that could compare with that? Is there any possession? Because it's life. It's, life is going, and again, this is the beautiful thing about people who have not forgotten and people who are working with love, and the basic thing that is running our bodies. Our bodies are running on love. It's nurturing us. Why and you and I are talking right now, as I'm talking to you, my body, I don't know, something's going on in my liver, in my kidneys, in my butt, I don't, whatever's going on. I'm digesting some sandwich I had at lunchtime. All of that's going on automatically. There's a process which is so loving and benign that carries on, and we fail to recognize it. And then when we recognize each other, we start to see ourselves, and then we see that we're and that's what's so beautiful about this gathering and talking to you right now. It helps me remember again, the members, and remember it. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, but the breath is the key. And we need to breathe with the earth. So in order to do that, we need to be close to her. It's kind of like that child, the minute the mother has it and holds them to their breast, right, there is the safety, the peace, everything that the child needs.
Yes.
And so, I have this phrase that I use in certain circumstances where I have felt so, and I always tell them, I was cradled by the ancestors. Wow. I was held at that moment that you hold a child who has been crying or is irritated, and nothing more than the presence and the closeness to the heartbeat of the mother and the breath of the mother calms the child down.
Right.
And so that's a luxury to come by these days.
It's a luxury. It is, definitely.
But but it doesn't have to be. See, that's the thing, is that it doesn't have to be. And I don't know if I just hang around people who are of like mind, but I just know the most incredible people in the world, like Cathy, our mutual friend.
Oh, a blessing.
What she brought to me, to my home, to my life in the short stay that she had with me in Hawaii, what was the kind of thing I never forget her. It's like I always have her presence with me.
Absolutely.
And like her, there are other people in the world, but it's exciting. It's what makes me stay here, sure, even when I could have left. It's because humanity has to run its course. It's just gonna depend how long, the length of time. It's gonna depend on how fast people are willing to do that.
That's right.
It does depend on us. It does depend on us, and we depend on others, and we can no longer point fingers and blame.
No.
You see, the blame thing, which so many of us were brought up in that kind of atmosphere, that it's something very difficult not to do.
Very.
We have to teach ourselves, and even when we think we've done it once, we didn't. You catch yourself off guard, you're in a little bit of a stress, and you find yourself in that same position again.
That's right. And we're the problem. Each of us we have our own problems, and to be able to internalize it, to see it without judgment, say, okay, I'm screwed up here. I don't like this part of me. This part is maybe a program that was passed on to me. The ability to see ourselves in every situation, rather than, there's two eyes that look out and one that looks in. and to say, okay, this is, and then in circle or with your loved ones to say, well, you know what, I fucked up. I didn't get that right. I'm sorry. And what that does, we start getting a culture of that. It brings so much joy to one to say, I got it wrong. And then it allows others to provide you and nourish you. And you don't take a position. So for me, it's like this non-positionality. You don't take a position with it. And then all these brothers and sisters bring you these things. And you think, well, if I took a position, I wouldn't have touched any of that. And it's so lonely. It's a lonely thing. I love my brothers and sisters, and this idea of just it's beautiful.
You know, they're a part of us, and we're a part of them. And when you feel that often enough, you begin to miss it and to long for it. Yeah. And the people who might seem to have the hardest time at this time, a lot of times it's because the emotional charge, it brings them fear. They are afraid to let go of what they've been holding on to for so long.
Yes.
Even in exchange for something that might be better.
Right.
You know, it's the security in the negative. And that's exactly where compassion comes in. Because that's where we want to say, well, hurry up. Why can't you understand this? Why can't you figure this out? Everybody else got it except you. You know, it's so, and it might be easy for someone, but it might not be that easy. And so, you know, the patience of going past the point where you would have previously given up is so important. I feel that everybody who crosses paths with me has something to teach me. And I am always telling my students, well, the teacher doesn't know everything. You can't imagine how much I have learned from you guys, you know, because all of these things that present themselves as difficulties or obstacles on your part is just a reflection of me and me dealing with those same obstacles and fears and everything else in my life.
Yes.
But you know, sometimes the difference is just how dedicated are you to that. And sometimes people don't see, that's just it. People do not see a need to change. And that's where, you know, COVID's going to be around for a little while. As long as you do not see a need, just like they don't see a need to wear a mask and take precautions or anything like, as long as they don't see that, nobody's going anywhere. But then for the rest of the people, it's like we have this incredible opportunity. You know, COVID has presented us with so many beautiful, beautiful opportunities for real connection to people, even through Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, whenever whenever it's hard to get a connection, I'm going, there's just too many people in cyberspace, you know, because everybody's trying to Zoom. But, you know, so what if we all don't go to work this week? Okay, well then, you know,
exactly.
It's not like you have nothing to do. But yet some people have fashioned their lifestyle where if they can't go out to the club or they can't go, you know, it's like, but I'm just at home. And, you know, I'm never lonely around me. I have so many things to do. But, you know, I'm also very, very social. But, you know, I have so many things that I would like to do. And to have the time to do them has always been a luxury. Even something simple like reading a book. You know? Our lifestyle, there are a lot of people whose lifestyle doesn't allow for that.
No, they don't have the time. They've got to be productive. And it's going from productive to creative. And in the creative, we say, you know, there's some profound questions, and we see our own programming by society. Society's inside of us. We have the possibility to deprogram and to create something. We become the work of art rather than the painting on the screen. We can paint onto our own lives. You know, this is, you know, the Native Americans who talk about the painting of on their own bodies, or their own picture, and what do we want to create? We're creating for the future now, and maybe this is where we spoke earlier about our star brothers and sisters, and on all the other levels of evolution that exist beyond this one. If we don't see that we're all the same and we can deal with our own, I wonder why we're so isolated in the universe, and why nobody's talking to us. There's quite profound questions there to be answered, but it does come down to us, and it does come down into the fact that we do have this time now, as you're saying, with this COVID, to start to see ourselves and to see that we are everything.
Really good time to reprogram. It because and in those terms, everybody's computer savvy enough to understand those and understand those things. Now, to apply it to our lives and to our mindset, to our consciousness. I think that's what this is doing. That just coming together with you.
Sure.
That's a part of this deprogramming.
Likewise. And to the children on the planet now, the ones who are growing up through this, I asked if you had a message for our leaders. What is your message to the children that are growing up through this very confusing time, where things are being taught, the values of the other generation or their older generation are no longer applying? They're coming up, and wondering because there are so many suicides now. There are so many young people who are destroying themselves, literally. I know, for sure in this country, in England, we have a huge problem now, and I feel sorry and very concerned, and want to reach out to the youth in England and all over the world who feel, what's there to look forward to? What would I know, again, it's a loaded question, but I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, I think first of all, I kind of make a distinction between little children and like people in their teens and their early 20s. For the little children, they still know and be in nature and play and breathe and have fun.
So they're the teachers.
Right now, as going back to school, they're being bombarded with class and teaching through Zoom and everything. Get off the computer and go roll around on the ground. Go to the beach. Have fun. Have fun. Right. I think children are still innocent enough that they can do that. And the other thing that I would tell the little children is, all your little invisible friends, all of the plants, all the animals that talk to you. Talk to them, interact with them. Right. I think the hardest thing it is to be a teen and a young adult at this time. Yeah. Or a middle-aged adult too, but because they were gearing all their life toward the established presets of society. And now all of a sudden they see it crumbling before their eyes. And, you have some parents who are very wise and are able to guide their children through that. Right. But mostly they're at a point where, they're individual thinkers. And so the support that they need, to me, is bring them into ceremony. Right. Create ceremony if you have to, that will help them remember, that will put them in contact with nature as well as themselves. Have them observe nature. Mother will show us everything we need to know.
Yes.
Maybe just not on our timeline that we want.
Right.
But I'm an advocate for, if you need to create your own ritual and ceremony, you do it.
Right.
Because, some people in the indigenous, there's like, you can't do that, or you can't change ceremony. among almost any indigenous people. The exception is if that person has enough mana, if that person is strong enough and knows what they're doing, they can. But the average Joe does not. And so, no, you leave the ceremony there, because indigenous ceremony, has safety features written into them.
That's right.
And so the understanding of ceremony and its purposes and how you carry it out plays a big role into how successful it is. But for that age group,
Yes.
you know, and I can say one thing, you know, it's like there may be some indigenous circles where you are not allowed to enter, but it is very unlike an indigenous circle not to accept and welcome someone who is not indigenous of that place.
Sure.
It is very unlike. You do not treat strangers like that. You never treat strangers like that. There may be things that are only for certain people because of this, but in general, you know, there are so many people who have been adopted into I mean, in Native American, we have ceremonies where you adopt people into your family, and especially those who may not be blood connected,
Right.
but people who have shown a sincere interest and who are willing to follow and live in a certain way, and they are adopted into their family in every means, you know. And in Hawaii, that happened a lot. People would even give their own children to a brother or sister-in-law that didn't have children of their own.
Right.
And that was their child. And the child was brought up knowing they got two mothers, that was their birth mother, but this is my mother for all other intents and purposes. Yeah. And everything was fine. You know, there were no hidden legal files of you can't know who your real mother was. And,
right.
You know, so that kind of openness. But I do believe that headed into that way, and if not, just, you know, getting together with people of like mind. Because I'm going to tell you something, in Hawaii there has never been such an intimate but yet open dissemination of our cultural knowledge to everybody and anybody, including our sacred chants.
Wow.
Our stories, our traditions.
Yes.
And there, I mean, it's just astounding, because for so much of it, there's not even a price attached to it. You know, and worldwide, it's happening also. You just got to find it.
Right. And do you find it simply by letting go of trying to find it? Does it come through? Because this is the point. People say, you know, I've heard this said quite a few times. Well, what do I do? How do I find where to go? You know, I'm lost in the forest. And my thought always is stand still. Wherever you are is a place you need to be. Stand still, because I feel it comes for us, and I feel that, you know, we run so fast with our heads and with our.
Yeah, and you know, when you still yourself, I also believe that it comes to you and it will find you. But in the meantime, you know, that thing about being still, it's like learn to be with yourself. And that's kind of a lot of the reason why people keep running away. They don't want to be with themselves.
Yes, that's it.
And so to me, the idea of standing still is perfect. Mm-hmm. Because if you stand still, then the things can find you. Yes. If every time it gets close, you're running in a different direction. You know, and then you say, I can't find anything, and nothing's happening in a way. And you know, I kind of have three or four basic answers to everything. You know, like even my children, and one is to drink water, because water as well as breath will connect us to the universal consciousness.
Sure.
And that will attract whatever energies need to come to you.
Yes, true enough.
And then the other one is to Mother Nature, whether it's to go barefoot or just lie on the ground. Those things, they're all free.
Yes.
And they're simple enough.
Right.
But, you know, a lot of people have to fight their own self and their own mindset because that seems ridiculous for them to do. You know, there are adults who think, I don't walk barefoot ever. Why would I sit on the ground if I have a chair?
Right.
And I'd rather have a cup of coffee than water.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
and it's those simple things.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, and sorry, I go back to the Bible because that's the things that I know. You know, who is that they wanted to be healed, and they sent him off, and he was a big wig. They sent him off to this river that was far away from him,
Okay.
and said, bathe in that river and you will be healed. And he's like, why on earth would I do that when I have this river right here and this is my river? You know.
Right.
But he had gone to this prophet to ask. And like, if you're going to go to the prophet, if you're going to ask, then be prepared to follow the answer.
Sure.
Because that's another thing that happens. You know, we ask and we say, we want this, we want that, and sitting in front of your face. But because you don't like it,
Yeah.
or you didn't think that's what it was going to be like, you totally reject it before you even had a chance to see it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a typical human reaction.